Yo, it's Trent. Hope everyone's having a good day, good week so far. Happy Tuesday. Hope you guys are all doing good. And we got my first time sneaking out story time, or the first time I snuck out, whatever I call it. But yeah, I was young, dude. This is like sixth grade, maybe seventh grade. It might have been, I think it was seventh grade or eighth grade. Not eighth grade, it was like seventh grade. Okay, so how old are you in middle school, dude? Like, let me think. You start middle school at what, 12? And then 13 is seventh grade, then 14. And then you get your permit and stuff at 15, drive at 16 sophomore year. So I'd say I was like 13, 14 years old, okay? And, I don't go into details about these things, but just because for this story to make sense, I have to say this. Yes, I was very young when, things happened in my life, right? When I started experiencing girls, that started young, okay? So I'd already done that, is what I'm trying to say. And so one day I'm just sitting at home, and I had a girlfriend for a little bit. I can't lie, my first girlfriend ever in sixth grade, right? But then in seventh grade, we weren't talking anymore. You know how that goes. Those relationships last like a week or two, and then right into the wind. But I was talking to some random girl from I don't even know where. I don't even think she was in my school because of where I lived. I got kind of screwed over. I had to go to the elementary school, right? I was in the middle of two elementary schools, had to go to one that wasn't even by my house. Then I'm in the middle of two middle schools and I have to go to the farther one. And then for high school, I live right by one high school. I had to go to a whole nother one. I got screwed over for the schools, but because of that, this girl lived by me, right? But we didn't go to the same school, so I don't know how I met her. It had to be like going to the roller rink or going to like the we used to have this trampoline place in our town that like we'd all go to on Friday nights. So maybe I met her there or something because I wasn't partying, I wasn't doing any of that. So I had to have met her like out somewhere, right? Or maybe in middle school, we used to go to the high school football games. We thought that was really cool. So maybe I met her there. Doesn't really matter where I met her, but we had been getting to flirting, right? And flirting back then is a lot different than now, you know what I mean? Now it's like there's no, like you can hide your intentions, right? But you know when you're both consenting adults, if you're already talking, you think each other are attractive and cool, you know where it's gonna lead to. But back then, you had no idea what was gonna happen. Every exchange with a girl or with anybody, but I'm talking about from my point of view, so only girls, right? Talking to girls back then, you never knew what was gonna happen. You didn't know if like they were gonna friend zone you. You didn't know if they were gonna like you never knew, right? Maybe they'd give you a kiss on the cheek. You don't know, right? Because there's a lot different back then. Like just being kids, like it was a lot more wild. Like if you happened to kiss somebody or you did anything with anybody, like people are gonna know about it. You know what I mean? It's gonna be shared around. So you gotta be careful who you talk to, who you do stuff with, right? So I remember my thinking. My thinking was I wasn't thinking about anybody else, barely thinking about the girl. I was just so excited, because when you're a dude and you're younger and these opportunities get brought up to you, you're pumped up. So I didn't know yet, but I was sitting in my room, probably on Snapchat or some shit. Who knows what I was doing in seventh grade, probably sitting in my room playing video games, right? Well, I get a text from this girl and she's like, "Hey, I don't know what you're doing later, but after my parents go to sleep, maybe you'd want to come over." Now, I had been given the opportunity to sneak out before, right? But it was always by friends. It was always by other dudes that I was friends with, right? And the only reason for sneaking out would be like, "Hey, let's go walk to McDonald's late at night, or let's just go walk around." And I was never down for that because I knew if I got caught, it would be bad. Like I'd get yelled at and shit, right? I'd probably get grounded. So it was never worth it to me, right? I was like, I don't care about McDonald's that much, or I don't care about walking around. Like I don't need to sneak out. Like there's no reason to, right? Well, this was the reason that I was willing to do it, right? A girl, and you know what I'm thinking in my head, especially being in seventh grade, like, oh shit, she's inviting me over after her parents fall asleep. Things are gonna happen. So I was excited. I instantly was like, yes, I'll sneak out. But to be honest with you, like my parents are really young. They had me like at what age I am now, even younger. I'm 21. They had me at like 19 and 20, right? So they didn't like go to bed like older parents would. You know what I mean? They stayed up till like 2, 3. So not only was I sneaking out this night for the first time, but I had to wait. I had to like stay up, and I told the girl that, and she was still down, right? Most people probably wouldn't be, but she was. So I was like, bet, sounds good. And we were like minimally flirting. Like I was like, oh, you look cute today, or, stuff like that. But we weren't saying anything about like what was going to happen when we were going to hang out. We didn't mention that at all. It was just being like, oh, you're cute, you're cute. So, like, now, if a girl told me that and then I was going over to her house, you know what that means. But back then, still, it's like, it's hard to take hints because you really don't know. And being that young, like, some people are down to do stuff and some people aren't. So it's a weird subject, right? But I was down to sneak out. So I'm waiting for my parents to fall asleep. It felt like I was waiting forever. I remember telling them that I was going to sleep and then leaving my door cracked open just a little bit just to listen for when, I didn't hear people downstairs anymore. Took forever. It was probably like 2:30, 2:40, some shit. I don't remember the exact time. I just remember having to fake being asleep because my mom back then, she would check because I would stay up, I'd look at my phone, like they'd have to take my phone from me and shit because I would just stay up and I didn't care about school. So I was like, I'm going to play games. I'm going to hang out. You know what I mean? They weren't cool with that. So my mom would check sometimes if I was awake. I remember her checking and I was like hiding under the blanket looking at my phone. I'm sure she knew, I'm sure I wasn't hiding it. But as soon as they went to sleep, I wait like, 5, 10, 20 minutes and I'm texting the girl and I'm just praying that she's going to answer because now I've stayed up. Like I've done my part. I just hope she's still going to be down to hang, right? So I text her. I'm like, hey, they went to sleep. I can come over whenever, but it's late. So if you don't answer, I'm only going to stay up however long. Dude, she didn't answer for like 13 minutes. Doesn't sound that long, or maybe like 15 minutes. Doesn't sound that long, but when you're waiting and like you've been texting all day about sneaking over and then now they're not answering, dude, I was sad. I was sitting there like, God damn, this girl is just not gonna answer. Like it's a lost cause, you know what I mean? Like no matter what, nothing's gonna happen. And I was sad. I gave up. I remember putting my phone face down and like sitting back, just being like, fuck. Damn, why couldn't they have gone to bed earlier? And my phone does the little Snapchat notification. Big smile on my face, dude. I pull out the phone, I'm looking. She's like, hey, you're good to come over. They've been asleep, so, her parents were older, so they went to sleep a lot earlier, like 10 or 11. So, of course, she's like, yeah, you're good, I'm awake, come over. And I was pumped up, dude. Like, I was hyped up. And I look at the Google Maps to see how far it is because I couldn't bring my bike and I obviously couldn't drive at the time, so I'm gonna have to walk. How long's the walk, bro? 27 minutes, like a 30-minute walk, and it was like a mile away. It really wasn't far. Like if it was driving, it would have taken me less than 5 minutes to get there. It wasn't far, but the walk said 20 something minutes. I was like, whatever, dude, I'm on the way. I told her I'll be there in 20, right? And I walked, and sure enough, like I was making up better time than the walking map. The walking map always, they think you walk really slow for some reason on Google Maps or whatever. So I was going faster than however they anticipated, but I started jogging too. So I really did get there quicker than normal. I got there like in 10 minutes, 15 minutes instead of 30, right? So I get there and I text her and I'm nervous as hell, dude, because not only was I sneaking out for the first time, I'm sneaking in for the first time too. Like I'm sneaking into this girl's house and then I have to sneak back into my house, which is terrifying because I guess I didn't talk about this too much, but my door and my whole house creaked. So when I did sneak out, like when she gave me the okay, I creeped down the stairs, right? And when I opened the front door and it's all locked, so I have to unlock it and we had a chain. So everything made noise, dude. And then when I was opening the door, it was like creak, like it made so much noise. And then even when I was outside, I like stopped and listened to hear if one of my parents was gonna like heard me leave because I swear it was loud. I was standing there for like 3 minutes listening. But no, then I got to the girl's house, walked there, whatever. And I text her when I'm like 3 minutes away and I'm like, hey, I'll be there in however long. Are you going to be outside? Where should I go? Like, obviously, I'm not supposed to just knock on the door. She's like, okay, come to my back window, right? Which I've done before. But listen, the one other time I went to a back window, it was like ground floor. You know what I mean? Like, it was like in the basement, so I didn't have to really try very hard. Like the window opened and I just slid myself in like pretty easily. But this girl's window wasn't on the bottom floor. It was, well, I guess you could call it first floor, but it was a little higher up than normal. Like a first floor window would be like, if I'm standing looking straight ahead, it's right there, right? That'd be a first floor. And a second floor would be like two of me stacked on top of each other, right? This window was like 3 feet above my head, so it wasn't It definitely wasn't a two-story like room or window, but it wasn't right in front of my face. So I don't know what you'd call it. It was like lifted. It was like, I don't know if there was, I don't know what it was, if it was something to do with the foundation or if it was just the way the house was built, but her window was a little bit above my head. So I go to her back window and I had to like climb up onto it, and she had a bunch of stuff that she had to move on the windowsill, and then I climb in, dude, and I was trying to be quiet. I remember her telling me, you need to be quiet, and I remember saying something like, I'm a ninja, dude. I'll be in and out. I'll be silent, dude. Like, I'm not going to make any noise. And I remember thinking I was loud, but I got in there, was sketched out, and of course, not gonna say anything that happened in those terms, but we hung out for like 40 minutes, right? We hung out for as long as I would allow it to, because eventually I got to a point where I was sketched out about leaving. Like, we had our fun, you're really cute, but dude, if I don't get home, like, I'm gonna tweak out, because if someone notices I'm not home, dude, it would have been trouble. Like, I would have been fucked, not just yelled at. Like, I don't know exactly what would have happened, but it wouldn't have been good, right? So I'm like, hey, I have to leave. It was great seeing you. You're amazing, right? Kiss her, whatever. I'm leaving. So I start walking back. Now, when I used to like skip school all the time and walk around at night, then when I was like 17, 16, like around then when I'd walk around at night, I wasn't scared. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't nervous about the cops. I wasn't nervous about like seeing a crackhead or anything. Like, I just didn't care. Like, if a cop was like, oh, are you past out curfew? I'd be like, yo, I'm 18 in like a month. Give me a break, right? Like, I wouldn't have cared. But walking back when you're 13 or whatever and fucking young and nervous, dude, I was scared, okay? All I was scared about was the cop seeing me, and like, I've never actually heard a cop or heard anybody talk about like, oh, it's after curfew, but I know that's like a law, so I was worried that he was gonna be like, hey, you know, you're breaking curfew, I'm gonna tell your parents. Like, I was worried about that happening, because it wasn't just like 12 or 1. Like I said, I had to wait for my parents to fall asleep at like 2:30, and then waited a little bit, and then stayed at this girl's house for like 40 minutes. So it was like 4 something. Like, it was it was almost morning, dude. And I'm pretty sure I had to go to school the next day. So I get back to my house tired as hell also, but I was sketched out, and I forget that, like, hey, you need to sneak back in, right? Like, I didn't forget it, I just wasn't thinking about it. So I get back to my house, and I know it's gonna creak, and I try to listen to the door, but I don't hear anybody, and it's sketchy to sneak back in and to sneak back out, because I have to go by every single room in the house and the bathroom. So, like, if for any reason, if someone's going to the bathroom, if someone got up to get water, like literally any reason that someone would be awake in the middle of the night, they'd see me, right? And I was nervous. So I opened the door, and it felt like it was creaking so fucking loud. And I shut the door, and I take a deep breath, dude. I take off my shoes, everything, and I sneak back upstairs, get in my bed, dude. It felt like I laid down for maybe, I don't know, 2 hours. Like, it did not feel very long. It felt like instant by the time my mom was like, hey, wake up, it's time for school. I was dead tired, but to be able to just go to school, and we never dated or anything, so it's not like I wasn't even really excited to see her. I mean, I didn't see her, or no, she didn't even go to that school, so I wasn't excited about her at all. What I was excited about, though, was to tell all the boys. I went to school the next day. I told fucking all the boys what had happened. So maybe you could see why now I'm like, hey, I don't kiss and tell. Because back then, you know, I would do something and then I'd go tell all the boys. And that could be very embarrassing to the girl if she found out. So I'm glad I didn't keep doing that. But dude, it was a little wild for my first time sneaking out, because I was just so young. Like, I was scared the whole time. When I was with the girl, there were a little bit, like, there was times where I was distracted, so I wasn't nervous about it. But immediately when those things ended, my first thoughts were like, oh, I have to get home, because, like I said, my parents are young, dude. Like, they're not older, and I mean, not that older people are naive or anything, but you can almost sometimes you can get away with more, in my experience. Not always, but sometimes. But they stayed up late. I'm sure they weren't like the deepest sleepers. It made me nervous, dude. I thought I was gonna get caught, but I didn't. But anyways, thanks for watching. That's my first time sneaking out story time. Hope you enjoyed. Become a member, subscribe, share, whatever you'd like. Just appreciate you guys watching. If you're going through something, need someone to talk to for real, my Instagram's linked in either the bio of the video or the entire YouTube. Just go there, DM me. I'll get back to you within a day or two. Thanks for watching. Be safe. Peace out.